8:37, welcome back. Your text welcome, 1-800-580-CFRA, 1-800-580-2372. It is time for the weekly rundown panel, going over the top local stories of this week. Doug Thompson is here. He is a former city councilor for Osgood. Doug, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Good morning.
My pleasure as always. Good morning.
And Keenan Wellar also here. He is the co-leader and director of communications at Live, Work, Play. Keenan, good morning.
Good morning.
So a couple of things happening this week. I wanted to get to first. We've just been talking about snow cleanup this hour. Of course, we've been struggling to kind of keep up with the snow that we got last week. Looks like we're still doing better than Toronto as well, at least at this point. Keenan, I guess, what has snow clearing been like in your neighborhood? Is it been up to par? How are you feeling about all of this?
Well, I'm well aware that it's a problem because, we keep using the roads while they're trying to clean it, so it's kind of tough. I was out actually voting yesterday, so I went from basically Glebe to Hintonburg and around that area, and yeah, the side streets have these huge trucks on them that are, trying to snowblow off of the side into the truck and get it away. And at that point, kind of Wellington and Richmond was still really tight. There's not room for a mouse between the car and the sidewalk. But I totally understand. There's only so much you can do at night, and they do go like nuts at night, and they're going to work over the weekend. But I think we're doing pretty good. I still got where I was going. I knew it would take longer, and I can appreciate the challenge because, as I said, we keep using everything while they're trying to clean it, so it's tough.
Yeah, and good to hear that it's been well for you too. And that's where I'm kind of coming out on this, where it's just like we understand the huge challenge that's at play here. I can understand there might be a few things kind of here and there, but for the most part, it seems like we're doing okay. Doug, what's it been like out in your neck of the woods out in Osgood?
Well, we're very fortunate. Hats off to the city crew. Like they've soon after the snow had stopped, they were out and our streets were cleaned up, and we're better off out here because our streets are basically wider, less congested with houses. So, and I was downtown the other day. I saw the mess that is down there, just with the almost one-way streets and cars parked and etc. So we're very fortunate, and the city crews have been out cleaning up in our villages, where and cleaning the sidewalks and taking away snow that's been plowed up on the main thoroughfares. So we're in very good shape out here.
Yeah, outside the studio here, George Street has been getting slowly wider over the course of the past week, so it's good. But I suppose just to put a reminder out there, those snow crews that we've been talking about, they've been out since last Wednesday, not this past Wednesday, since last Wednesday, kind of night and day. So just a shout out to them once again for the work that does go into this. We've been talking a lot about U.S.-Canadian relations, of course. There was a story this week, and I talked to Don Whale yesterday, a local restaurateur, discussing how they've completely changed their menu and approach to buying ingredients. So this whole U.S.-Canada thing is very much kind of real for restaurants and businesses trying to kind of adapt to that. But before we get to that, we had a little bit of a hockey game this week, and that has fueled the tensions even further. Keenan, I'm assuming you watched Team USA and Canada take this or fight against each other on Thursday night for the final here. What did you make of just the whole, I guess, show around this game on Thursday?
Okay, I'm never going to forget that night, and there's something maybe a lot of people missed out on, but also we had the first ever fight in the Professional Women's Hockey League.
Oh, really? No, I didn't see that.
And, yes, and Vanasova for Ottawa got the first Gordie Howe hat trick in the league because she had a goal assist in a fight. And then I left that and ran home and caught pretty much the full last half of Canada to U.S. And man, I thought I was going to throw up. It was it was that level of intensity. I was kind of glad I didn't see the whole game because I was already pretty jacked up from the other games.
Well, you set yourself up for a pretty good doubleheader. But yeah, I was noting that on social media too, that a lot of new Americans kind of taken to the game because of the whole hoopla around it, and they were also feeling a little bit nauseous, particularly during overtime. Doug, did you watching the game? What did you make of the atmosphere over the course of, I guess 2 matchups in the course of the past week that have really kind of put this rivalry into focus?
It was quite incredible. Like we're season ticket holders with the Ottawa Charge, so I was flipping back and forth. Their game started earlier, but it was a very exciting night, and Mary Lynn and I went to bed at the end of the third period, so we didn't know who won till the next morning, but it was it was really incredible. The only disappointment was the honorary captain for Canada. As much as I love Wayne Gretzky, I think it was the way he acted was very disappointed. He came out in a suit, and he could have come out with a Canadian jersey or something, but that's a small potato. We won, and it was a great evening for Canada and Canadian hockey fans.
And I was wondering, just on the Gretzky point too. I was just kind of wondering because there has been such the hoopla, like just put a jersey on, play the role or what have you, but it just didn't work out that way around. And luckily, like you mentioned, Canada won, so maybe we just won't talk about any of that stuff ever again. Maybe. The other thing that I was mentioning though is that we have seen local restaurants and bars kind of buying more local. They're sourcing from local farmers. They're trying to get dairy in Quebec. It looks like they're trying to make this work without using big American companies, and Keenan kind of taking this this thing that consumers have had in terms of boycotting products and taking it a step further. It does seem like through all of this, there is a glint of optimism in the sense of just connecting local communities back together. Yeah,
my wife and I have always tried to do that and favored restaurants that make an effort. So this is just giving us more choices and more places to go with friends, and we really appreciate it. And it takes a bit of privilege, so like we have always used the farmers markets and things like that, but you need a car and sometimes more money for the produce and things. But we do our as well as we can support local farmers and definitely local restaurateurs that make a go of it. There's been a few around for a while now, but it's great to see it catching on and them getting attention for it in a way that they haven't before, and people discovering like, this tastes fantastic. Like, why not? Why don't I support Canadian chefs and Canadian producers?
In checking out a restaurant, perhaps maybe you didn't check out before. That can't be a bad thing in many ways. Doug, just the idea here that we've had to make all these changes hasn't been fantastic, but you do see some local businesses here stepping up and trying to make an effort here. Would you be more likely to go to a restaurant, Doug, if they were doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's great to see this buy Canadian or support local farmers markets, as was mentioned, is great. And the one thing that I am really excited about is the possibility that the interprovincial trade barriers will be rescinded, and so that we can really follow through with what we want to do, and that's support Canadian products as much. And it's really interesting. Boston Pizza, now they say they've been Canadian for so many years. So I think that says it all.
That separate from their own name in some ways. Yeah. But yes, it definitely has been, whether whatever side of the political spectrum you fall on, I think everybody can be, take note of the pride that a lot of Canadians have been feeling. It's been very nice in a sense of a divisive political world that we've been living in. So there's that. And of course, I mentioned that we're also in the middle of a provincial election campaign. Keenan, you mentioned you got your vote in yesterday. Very glad to hear there was there's fewer advanced days of voting this time around, so that's good to hear. For you, what do you think is the biggest issue in this election campaign?
I mean, there was fewer days of everything, so it's really hard to get some traction on attention to the issue. If I could just say, for me, 30 years kind of working in the disability field, it was really amazing in some ways that things like the Ontario Disability Support Program were actually in the debates and discussed this year. So that was really interesting. And then, I've just kind of been, following the different ways people intend to work with taxes and promoting the economy at the same time. And there's been some really interesting and I think useful debates for Ontarians around that. I'm publicly nonpartisan in these things as an agency that works for the provincial government. But I will just say it was great to hear disability issues discussed, because it never happens.
Yeah, there's been a couple of promises of doubling OTSP. There has been increases recently. It has something that has been kind of falling through. We've talked about this before, Keenan, just as a separate side note. Is that something you would like to see whatever the next party is that's leading the province kind of step in and kind of deal with? I think Mike Schreiner was calling it legislated poverty.
Absolutely, and I just, we have to remember it's not like the money goes in the garbage. Just like other things, those people, they pay rents and they buy groceries, and so we should not look at it that way, as that it's wasted money of some kind, and people can't get employment or progress in their lives if they don't have stability. So I think it's really a good investment in people from what I've seen. And yeah, has been some increases, but if you just look at the reality of what rents are and costs and add it up, you can see that it doesn't make it. So the doubling, it sounds like doubling of anything sounds like a lot, but it'd actually be just about right to give people a stable chance in a city like Ottawa or Toronto to actually have a home and not skip meals.
Yeah, and just for context for people, just for that money, right? Just sit down and think about what the maximum is for the month and think about how to roll through your budget. I think you'll be very surprised by what you find. The provincial election coming up on Thursday. We cast our ballots. Doug, what's been the big issue here? I know locally we've seen the LRT kind of become a little bit of a promise here, uploading to the province. What's been the big issue for you during the course of this campaign?
Well, I think the one thing that and was affected by personally is the lack of medical doctors in Ontario, and I had to change my doctor. 34 years retired, and so it was very difficult. I did find a new doctor, but I just wish that there was. I know the Liberals and the NDP have focused on that, and the PC party have to a small degree, but that. It has been sort of a high profile, but I think that should have been the key issue. And, Ford had said they're going to build a tunnel for billions of dollars. I wish he would have said, look, we have to fix the doctor shortage, and we're really going to focus if we're reelected as a government. So that's the big issue that I just wish it would have got more traction. It just, for some reason, that is a huge issue, but it doesn't seem to come to the top as much as it should.
And I know the PCs have been pointing at former federal Liberal MP Jane Philpott and their work on trying to connect people with a family doctor. But during the campaign trail, there hasn't been any newer promises on that. Do you think, Doug, just because I've been lamenting this too, some of our top issues have been kind of blown out of the water here. Do you think part of this is just the tariff talk and the uncertainty around that's really overshadowed everything?
Yeah, yes, I think so. That is really very important. But in life, sometimes you have to look at what is the most critical, and tariffs is very important, but it's going to wave back and forth. And this issue with the lack of medical doctors is a core basic service that we have to put the other stuff aside, in my opinion, and have focus on that, because that is so critical. And it's a topic that you hear regularly, day in, day out, when you're talking to people in and around your community.
Yeah, and even in the news, right, we hear about wait times and connecting to family doctors when they retire. It's very much part of the news cycle over the course of the past year. So let's hope that people are voting on some of the big issues here. It is difficult, but we can chew gum and walk, I do believe. Our last story this week, Live Nation unveiling their plans for a new concert venue downtown, calling it very historic in many ways. Keenan, we've talked about revitalizing the downtown. One could think that this NCC partnership couldn't hurt in terms of bringing people to the downtown core.
I saw the design for that, and I was like, it looks a bit like Metropolis in Montreal, which has a new name now, but I love that place. Yeah. I used to go there for that size of concerts, and I have to say, I was a little skeptical. I'm like, okay, it looks pretty cool. Now, that's not the same as saying it's a good investment. I can't prove that, but I must say it looks like an amazing venue for live shows.
Yeah, I think the new one is called M-Telus. I think that's what they call the Metropolis or something like that. But yeah, no, and the fact we're even in the conversation like that for a pretty modern music venue in Montreal, Doug, it's just good for the downtown, just in terms of trying to get different things and different people to revitalize the economy downtown.
Absolutely, and we all could agree that the downtown core has it's gone downhill over the last 10 years. And I think that there's more focus on revitalizing the downtown core, and that is so critical to for our residents and for tourism. And yes, it's a step in the right direction, and I think that's one thing that City Council collectively should focus on is the downtown core, because people just don't want to go down there now, and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and we've heard that sentiment too in terms of some of the issues as well. So I'm sure it's not going away, but we'll leave it there for right now. Doug Thompson and Keenan Wellar, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
See you at the game, Doug.
Yes.
Doug Thompson, former city councilor for Osgood. Keenan Wellar, co-leader and director of communications at Live, Work, Play. That is their thoughts. Your thoughts welcome. 1-800-580-CFRA. You can send us a text. It's 1-800-580-2372. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, get to some of those texts, tee up the second half of the show here on News Talk 580.